There is a photograph of your grandmother from 1957. She is standing in front of a house, probably not a big house, wearing a dress you would wear today if you could find it. She looks put together in a way that stops you when you study it. You try to identify what it is. It is not the dress. The dress is ordinary cotton. It is something underneath the dress, something in the way she is standing, something she knew. She did not have a stylist. She did not have a clothing budget. She had rules, specific, invisible rules her mother gave her, which her mother's mother gave before that. She never thought to name them. Everyone around her was doing the same thing. Then the industry arrived. The rules were replaced with products. The products were replaced with more products. This video is the rules. Before number 10, subscribe. This is exactly what this channel is built to make. Hit that button, then let's go. Number 10, they owned almost nothing and never felt it. Your grandmother owned 6 dresses in 1957. Research by sustainability organizations tracking American consumer habits has found that the average American woman today owns approximately 60 to 80 pieces of clothing and still reports having nothing to wear. That gap is not explained by need. It's explained by an industry. Zara opened its first store in 1975 and introduced a model built on manufacturing new silhouettes every few weeks rather than every season. Before fast fashion, clothes cost real money relative to income. Women bought fewer pieces, cared for what they had, and wore each one until it genuinely wore out. The global fast fashion industry is now worth over $100 billion. It is built entirely on the anxiety it created. Your grandmother knew exactly what she had. She'd worn it all before. She'd wear it all again. The wardrobe was a closed system. No confusion, no Sunday evening standing in front of it feeling defeated. Number 9, the foundation built the silhouette. Before anything went on, something went under. In 1955, a woman's morning began with a structured bra, a girdle, and a slip. Not because she was suffering for fashion, but because these garments did something no dress could do on its own. They created the silhouette. The dress then had something to work with. When she looked in the mirror before leaving the house, she was looking at a shape that had been built in layers, each one doing a specific job. Sarah Blakely founded Spanx in 2000 after cutting the feet off a pair of pantyhose. She built a company valued at over $1 billion from one observation: women's undergarments had stopped doing their job. She was right, but the knowledge hadn't disappeared. It had been replaced by convenience, and convenience became a growth category. Your grandmother's foundation garments cost less than $10 total in 1955. The shapewear industry they eventually inspired is worth billions today. The dress did not make the silhouette. The foundation always did. Number 8, they dressed for their figure, not the trend. Margaret's mother took her to the seamstress at 17. The woman walked around Margaret 3 times and said, "A-line skirts, fitted waist, never horizontal stripes across the hip." Margaret was in her 20s before she bought anything that contradicted this. She never bought anything that didn't work. In 1958, every women's magazine in America ran the same section: what to wear for your body type. Pear, Hourglass, Column, each had a specific prescription: waistlines, hemlines, necklines that worked and ones that didn't. This was craft knowledge, passed from seamstress to customer, magazine to mother to daughter with the same seriousness as a recipe. The fast fashion business model requires that trends apply universally. A silhouette that only suits certain figures sells to a fraction of the market. A trend declared flattering for everyone sells to everyone. The body type framework was not abandoned because it stopped working. It was inconvenient for a volume business. Number 7 is where the smartest wardrobe strategy of the entire era comes in. Number 7, accessories were the whole strategy. The handbag matched the shoes, the scarf finished the coat, the gloves came off only indoors. This sounds like restriction. It was actually mathematics. A woman who owned 6 dresses but rotated her accessories deliberately looked like she owned 20. The accessories were not decoration, they were the mechanism by which a small wardrobe appeared large. Jacqueline Kennedy's wardrobe was smaller than history suggests. Her personal secretary, Mary Gallagher, documented that Kennedy gave careful attention to accessories, gloves, scarves, shoes, rather than accumulating new dresses. The appearance of a completely different woman at every public event was not financial, it was architectural. The global handbag market alone is now worth over $50 billion. Your grandmother discovered this mathematics for free. Here is what keeps appearing when you trace this carefully. None of these habits required money. Several required the opposite of money. They required constraint, which turned out to be a discipline in disguise. The women who dressed best in 1955 were not the wealthiest women in 1955. They were the ones who understood the rules well enough to use them. The industry that replaced these rules did not offer better rules. It offered no rules, which requires constant purchasing to compensate for. Uncertainty is expensive. It was designed to be. Number 6 is what your grandmother did every Sunday evening. She never called it a beauty ritual. She just called it Sunday. Number 6, they ironed every week without exception. Sunday evening, 1956. The ironing board came out after the dishes. Every blouse, every skirt, every dress that would be worn that week pressed flat. The kitchen smelled like warm cotton. The finished pile grew on the chair beside the board until the week was accounted for. Tuesday's blouse laid over Thursday's skirt. Everything settled, everything ready. It was 45 minutes. It was also the week organized. Permanent press fabric was developed in the late 1950s and became commercially widespread through the 1960s. Convenient, but it quietly removed the visible difference between a woman who cared for her clothes and one who didn't. An ironed blouse and a permanent press blouse look different in the same room. The ironed one looks chosen. The ironed one looks like it came from a wardrobe that was thought about. Your grandmother's Sunday ironing cost her 45 minutes and nothing else. What she wore on Monday morning communicated something that wrinkle-resistant synthetic never could, that she had taken the time. Number 5. Lipstick was not vanity, it was the standard. She was not dressed without it. In 1958, putting your face on before leaving the house was not a beauty obsession, it was a matter of respect for the people you'd encounter, for the occasion, for yourself. A woman who stepped outside without it was communicating something she may not have meant to communicate. Street photographs of Audrey Hepburn taken throughout the 1960s, not posed, not promotional, caught by photographers on ordinary days in Rome and London, consistently show her wearing lipstick. She was not expecting cameras. She wore it because she was leaving the house, not for cameras, just because. The global lip cosmetics category is now worth $10 billion. The women who wore a single tube in 1955 replaced it twice a year, never called it a skincare routine or a self-care practice. It was just what you did before you opened the front door. Number 4, one good coat for a decade. In 1953, a quality wool coat cost approximately $35, close to half a week's wages for the average American worker. You didn't browse for coats, you studied them. You felt the weight of the wool between your fingers. You checked the seams. You bought one and you kept it. When the lining at the hem wore through, you brought it to the seamstress. She relined it for a few dollars and you had it for another 3 winters. You did not replace the coat because a new silhouette arrived. You replaced nothing until it could no longer be fixed. The relationship with an object that cost half a week's wages was different from the relationship with an object that cost $11 on a Tuesday afternoon. One of those objects you cared for, the other you lost track of. Fast fashion introduced seasonal coat replacement purchased in October, worn a handful of times, discarded by spring. The industry did not improve coats, it improved turnover. When I started researching this, I expected to find rules that restricted women. Rules designed to make them anxious about their appearance, smaller, more manageable. That is not what I found. What I found were habits designed to make small amounts go a long way, to stretch a 6-dress wardrobe into something that read as abundance, to use knowledge where others used money. Every rule on this list maximizes what a woman already had. Not one of them requires buying more. Several explicitly prevent it. The generation that replaced these habits did not become more elegant. They became a market. Number 3 is the habit that changes how clothing sits before you put it on. And number 1 is the single rule that makes everything else on this list work. Number 3, they walked like it mattered. In 1952, Dorothy's mother stood in the kitchen in Kentucky and gave her a demonstration. She stood up straight, chin parallel to the floor, shoulders settled back, movement from the hips. Then she let her shoulders drop forward, her chin fall, her spine curve. Same woman, same dress. She said, "Look at what the dress does." The dress did nothing in the second position. It bunched at the shoulder. The hem pulled. What had looked like a well-made garment now looked like something grabbed in a hurry. A dress fits differently on a woman who stands correctly. The shoulders lie flat, the hem hangs even, the silhouette reads exactly as it was designed to read, and a woman who moves through a room with her weight centered and her head up occupies that room differently, not as a style technique, but as a simple fact of presence. Dorothy stood straight for 60 years. She never once thought of it as style advice. She thought of it as what her mother showed her in the kitchen in 1952. Number 2, they dressed for the room they were entering. In 1958, there was a dress for church, a dress for the market, a dress for dinner, a dress for the house. Not because women had unlimited wardrobes, because occasion-appropriate dressing required no discussion. It was simply how you dressed. You knew where you were going. You dressed accordingly. You never stood in the doorway wondering if you were right. Casual Friday entered the American workplace in the early 1990s. In 1992, Levi Strauss & Co. distributed a guide to casual business wear to American corporations, a marketing initiative designed to sell denim into offices where denim had never been acceptable. Before that guide, there was no casual workday in the American professional world. The category was created by a jeans company to sell jeans. The progressive blurring of occasion, athleisure at dinner, sweatpants in the office is not cultural evolution. It is a marketing architecture designed to multiply the categories of clothing a person needs to own. Your grandmother always knew what to wear, not because she had more choices, because she had fewer, and she understood each one. Number 1, they knew what suited them and bought only that. This is the rule that makes everything else on this list work. Your grandmother, standing in that shop in 1957, was not asking, "Is this fashionable?" She was asking, "Does this suit me?" She had been taught to ask that question before any other, and she had been taught by her mother and her mother's seamstress and 30 years of accumulated observation exactly how to answer it. Not that color, it takes from your face. That one, it brings something forward. The A-line, not the pencil. The fitted waist, not the drop. She could walk through a shop in 15 minutes and know precisely what was hers and what wasn't. The fashion industry requires the opposite of this knowledge. Trends must apply universally. This season's color works on everyone. This silhouette is the one you want. Personalized taste is a threat to volume. Volume is the business. The most expensive items in most wardrobes today are the pieces that never get worn, bought in a moment of trend, in the wrong color, in a silhouette that was never going to work. Your grandmother didn't have that problem. She bought for one woman herself, and she knew exactly who that was. The most elegant woman in the room is rarely the one who owns the most. She is the one who knows. Dorothy's daughter still has the wool coat, the one her mother bought in 1952 and had relined in 1958 and wore for 11 winters. It hangs in a closet in Columbus, Ohio. Nobody has worn it in 20 years. It still has its shape. She has never owned anything as well made as that coat. She has spent more on coats in the last 10 years than she can accurately remember. None of them hang like that. Your grandmother's rules cost nothing. They required no subscription, no budget, no belief that the problem was your body or your discipline or your wardrobe size. They only required knowing what she knew. Pick one rule from this list. Try it for 2 weeks. Come back in the comments and tell me what changed. The next video is ready.